Arts and Adventure summits the airwaves. This is the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. I'm your host, R. Brandon Long, along with the greatest host in all the land,
Todd Oberndorfer.
Todd and I are your hosts for the greatest podcast in all the land. This week's guest, which is really cool.
Like no pressure at all. You like 2 times.
No, we're the greatest in all the land. I mean, might as well. Just throw it out there and say whatever. Okay, Beverly. I don't know if we've had a Ph.D. student on before, so this is cool. Sports performance and education, right?
Yes.
Okay. Also, and we'll talk about how that impacts high endurance athletes, which I'm fascinated about because wild and weird enough, I think I have the Ogden Avalanche hat on. Avalanche conditions are like the worst thing of the year right now. So does that mess with us when we're up high? We'll talk about that. And then there's a sweet new event coming to town, Ogden Outdoor Adventure X. Outdoor Adventure X, I should say. So Emily Boden or Bowden?
Boden.
Emily Boden, the director of events. It's all on you, Emily. It's all on you.
No pressure. It's a brand new event at a beautiful facility. No expectations whatsoever.
Yeah. You got this. I mean, you're a pro. You do other events, and so this is just.
But if they don't have a good time, they'll burn it down. Like they'll burn the resort to the ground. So like no pressure. They want to have a good time.
Yeah,
but
just lay it on. Make it worse.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
And introducing our new weekly co-host, I guess, Hailey Prine from the Weber State Outdoor Program, who's gearing up for the climbing festival this weekend and also your trip.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll be in Nepal next week. I was just telling Brandon and Todd that I can't make it next week, so apologies to all the listeners out there.
You can phone it in. You can just phone it in. It's going to work out fine.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way. We have the equipment, so that'll be fine.
Not next week, but we'll be at OAX at the event running the educational clinics there. So excited to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll dive in. Beverly, I want to jump to you first because I'm intimidated by PhD students. Are you? Todd's not. He's like.
It's just, do you love more of the same? You went to school. So
I went to school, but for the arts,
just more
she's in
and
science.
more and more.
What do you study exactly?
So right now I am studying health sciences with a emphasis in human and sports performance.
So what's like a class you take?
So right now, a lot of my courses are teaching me how to be a better researcher so that when I am diving into the topics I hope to study, I am competent and looking at quality research.
Is this something you thought like, I'm going to do this when you were in elementary, junior high, or is this like a recent discovery?
So I have always wanted to go into sports, and it wasn't until my undergrad when I was directed to go for nursing where I was like, this isn't for me. So I took the jump and transferred to exercise science, and it was history ever since.
Yeah. And why like elevation and sports, I guess endurance sports in general?
So a lot of my life growing up, I lived in different places that placed diverse environmental stress on me and ultimately other athletes other athletes that I climbed with, I skied with. And it was almost shocking. I lived in Minnesota for my undergrad, and it's extremely cold there, like negative 40 degrees, crazy cold.
It's super
in
fun
July.
To get out and play.
So cold. And my parents lived in Asheville, North Carolina. So the altitude varied, but it was still 300 or 3,000 plus feet higher than it was in Minnesota. And going back and forth between school breaks and vacation, it was just a night and day difference. And that drew me to want to explore this more.
So you reached out because we have, I'm on Ogden Avalanche, shout out, board, and we tried to fit you into the lecture series, which maybe we can get you in next year, which would be cool. So, but it's fascinating to me because some of these, unfortunately, some of the people that get caught in slides are some of the most well educated about avalanches. Are you diving into that psychology at all?
Yeah, so during my master's at the University of Utah, I looked into not only how high altitude impacted our physiology, but also our cognition. And it's ultimately...
Do we get smarter?
Well, I think with all experiences, we get a little smarter.
Oh, yeah.
But so what happens when we are not getting as much oxygen in per breath? Our working muscles, our organs, our brain is deprived of oxygen. So that's going to have a toll on us. And
do we notice, do we like say, oh, I'm all of a sudden not feeling like I should,
So research says that we notice a jump that's around 700 meters or 25,000 feet change relative to where we are currently acclimated to.
Well, that's way up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So around 6,000, do we notice anything or no? Or 11,000, never? Or how does that?
Well, notice as in we can feel our heart rate increasing. We feel maybe more tired, fatigued. We definitely don't sleep as well.
Yeah.
But it's all relative to where you are accustomed to. So say if someone flies in from Florida, we were just talking about this, and comes to ski here in Utah, what they notice in terms of the difference is going to be a lot more dramatic than, say, someone who is coming from Idaho. A lower altitude in Idaho.
Yeah.
One of my favorite events each year is I go out to Park City for Sundance each year, right? And those are the celebrities, musicians, you name it, that came from California, and immediately they find their oxygen bars and they struggle. They struggle. And that's one of my questions too, is have you found that certain bodies, certain situations are more susceptible?
Yeah, that would be Can I take a supplement to fix it?
Because I don't want to say that they're just ill-prepared.
Actors are terrible with elevation.
Yeah. Well, my experience is that, that's kind of true, but I'm sure that's the difference between California and Park City.
Yeah.
So a lot of the research that I've been diving into is on endurance athletes. So an endurance, someone who is well trained, like cardiovascularly, they have a strong, strong heart and lungs. How they respond to this increase in altitude is going to be different than, say, your general population, or especially compared to individuals who have chronic disease.
Yes. And then is there an elevation jump, like every 5,000 feet it does this or whatever? In other words, like if you go from 10,000 to 15, it's sort of the same difference as going from 0 to 5,000 or no, or it doesn't work like that?
So again, we notice about that 2,500 foot change from where we are accustomed to.
2,500, yeah. Okay.
Yes, 2,500 feet.
Okay. What's the one thing that surprised you the most studying this?
So I guess this also drew me to explore what I want to focus on with my dissertation. Is there is a lot of research being done on how we can use a unrelated stressor like extreme heat to prepare athletes for the demand of high altitude environments, which is kind of crazy to me. With my background, I was always taught like specificity. So this was surprising to me.
Does it work?
So there's evidence that suggests, well, one, that we should continue to explore heat, and again, a novel stressor and its impact on how we perform at high altitudes. And it goes down to the cellular mechanisms or those signaling pathways that are ultimately turned on when we are in a new environmental setting.
I have a friend who's fascinated with elevation. I was sort of talking to you about this before, but he wants to try. Well, I think he has like a cheaper version of some sort of breathing apparatus that mimics elevation. Do those cheaper ones work? What do you have to buy for it to actually work?
So, correct me if I'm wrong. You may not even know the answer, but I'm assuming he uses a mask.
No, it's a sleeping device. So it does go over him, and he does like, I don't know, he turns up like the elevation that he wants to sleep at, you know, and
Yeah.
then, but it's an affordable version of the very expensive, whatever the super nice ones are. But to me, I'm like, doesn't that still just deprive you of oxygen? I mean, isn't that really all it's doing? And so your brain gets used to that.
So it sounds like that he is using a hypobaric chamber.
Of sorts, yeah.
So, like you mentioned, he cranks up the altitude.
Yeah.
So what that chamber is doing is it is changing the pressure of the air around him, which creates less of a driving force between the oxygen that's available within the chamber and the environment and how his lungs are picking it up. There is a misconception around amount of oxygen at different elevations. Regardless of where you go in the atmosphere, it is about 21% oxygen. It's the change in pressure, what that chamber is mimicking, that is going to make the difference in how much we're picking up per breath. So those chambers, those artificial altitude, simulating devices are a great way, if you can afford it, to mimic the, again, demands of that environment.
So yes, they do work in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And he's doing it to train for,
Whitney.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so is that the goal for you, is to essentially be a resource for those athletes?
So I hope to work in a university setting and work with athletes to help them better prepare for these environmental extremes. And ultimately, the most prevalent cause of sudden athlete death is exertional heat illness. So understanding the impacts of these environments is really important for, having athletes, having a good experience out there, accomplishing these massive goals, but also for their safety. I also am very passionate about educating, so I hope to give athletes tools so that they can be self-sufficient.
So does it make us dumb at certain altitude? Like, why do we make bad decisions up high?
So when our brain is deprived of oxygen, it is going to prioritize survival. And, that's something unique about humans is we have cognition and all of these, psychological abilities and barriers. And when we continue to ascend, we're exposing ourselves to less and less oxygen per breath. And it definitely impacts our ability to make sound decisions, to self-evaluate, because we're more focused on...
Is this like equivalent to 4 beers? Or like, how do you...
So they actually talk about altitude illness in terms of intoxication. So
Brandon trains. He's training.
Yeah, I'm training for altitude right now, actually. This is like
He's an
3,000
elite
feet, I think. Yeah, I'm an elite athlete. Yeah, I know some elite athletes out there. I am not one, but this is maybe I need to get there. Yeah.
So definitely when we are starting to experience some negative side effects of altitude, it cannot be compared to, having a few beers. But when it comes to individuals who aren't necessarily meeting the criteria for like an altitude related illness, we do see decreases in decision making and focus.
Yeah, there's HAPE, right? And is it MACE?
So there is acute altitude sickness.
Yeah.
And then there's high altitude cerebral edema and pulmonary edema.
Okay. So this is before that happens, we would still sort of get a little woozy upstairs.
Yeah, and even if we're not aware of it.
Yeah.
Because our body is going to experience some like decline in a bunch of different ways when we don't have the resources we need to survive,
And that's
first and foremost.
And that's what we wanted to sort of address with avalanche safety. So, and I don't know what elevation you got to get up to, and even if it's possible in Utah, if you're up over 10,000 feet, 11,000 feet, where you're just not thinking like you should be, and all the training you've had isn't as clear, maybe.
And that's where revisiting your skills is really important. We talk a lot about that within, avalanche education, as well as building a good team for objectives, having realistic expectations, but also kind of keeping an eye on some of those things. If you bring the fact that these environments are going to impact how we view situations, whether they're threats or challenges, and what you do following that, then you're a lot less likely to encounter some of those horrible events that individuals face.
So you're studying this. This is what you're going to do. So you'll be able to eventually at some point provide education for people. Where do you get your information? Where are there places right now that we could go sort of dive into some journals or something that's currently studying the effects on human performance at altitude?
Yeah, so there is a few different journals. Right now, I love Google Scholar. Go Google. It's just really important. There's going to be a lot of different journals that are going to include this type of research. It's really important to look at systematic reviews. So on Google Scholar, you can check the little box, and that's going to look at studies that are looking at all the studies on an idea, a research question, and then they build a consensus for, how do we apply this to athletes. So I definitely recommend Google Scholar. Unfortunately, there is some privilege within research where a lot of journals like the NSCA and the ACSM journals you have to pay for. So unfortunately that's the case, but using a broader search engine like Google Scholar, it's a lot easier to see what your options are.
Okay.
Now, have you started working with athletes as well?
So alongside going to school and learning how to be a better researcher, I'm working as an intern within the athletic department at the University of Utah. So I get some more hands-on experience with testing and managing athletic assessment data and communicating with different members of the high performance unit around the outcomes and trends that we see.
Are you a guinea pig yourself?
Well, I do enjoy, my hobbies revolve around mountain sports. So I have firsthand experience around what it's like to be an athlete and an endurance athlete exposed to these environmental stressors, which is really important, I think.
Yeah, you got to kind of put yourself out there so you know what people are saying, right? Understand it.
Exactly.
Did you have a bad experience?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
I mean, sometimes
but
that
who
could be a
doesn't,
trigger.
right? Who hasn't had a bad experience going to maybe a really hot place or a really
Yeah.
cold place?
Yeah.
I felt it once. I lived in San Diego for quite some time, and my first trip here, a hike that I would have taken 100 times, right? It was the first time that it just knocked me clean out. Like it was like almost just I borrowed an inhaler from somebody, like an asthma inhaler, because I just needed that. And it was a kick in the, it was like a reminder that, hey, your body has
Were you going to say a
to
kick
altitude. Whatever. But usually altitude doesn't, it doesn't bother me. It just really hasn't. And so I think that it's just that.
No, we called him
day-to-day
Todd to the
change.
Top on the podcast before because he just runs up mountains. So that's interesting to hear that happened to you.
It really threw me for a loop. And it didn't take too long to sort of readjust again. But boy, sea level.
Well, I have a question about that too. Is the conventional wisdom, probably because it works, is you climb high, sleep low. How many days do you need to sleep low for it to impact? Like how many hours? In other words, if I want to go, so we have Whitney on the agenda this summer. Should I show up a day before, 2 days before, a week before? Like when does it actually help you?
So to make sure I'm understanding, you're asking about
Sleeping at a decent altitude, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
So say you have a race on July 1st and you're going somewhere that is nothing like where you live in terms of heat, cold, altitude, you name it. If you can get there 14 days beforehand,
Ooh.
I know, that's when you can fully adapt to the demands of that new place.
Okay. So then follow-up question. Unfortunately, like the week before, I'm in Florida for almost 14 days. So will I be completely acclimatized to the new elevation and humidity of Florida? And then when I come back, I have like a week to prepare.
So again, like the good thing is if you expose yourself to environmental discomfort, the more that you expose yourself to that discomfort, the less uncomfortable it'll feel. Not that it'll be completely like mitigated, but you'll build a tolerance, whether it's physiological or psychological, we don't know, but you get more comfortable doing uncomfortable things. If
the weather in Florida sucks really bad, that's going to help you.
It's always humid as hell and hot.
Basically, that's most of the time. Yeah.
And that kind of leads me into what I'm going to, well, hopefully, study during my dissertation is I believe that exposing yourself to extreme heat, which you would have in Florida, is one of those,
I'm training by the beach with a beer. This all makes sense now, Todd.
That could, qualify as one of those uncomfortable stressors, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to support you in your race and hear about your experience.
Okay. You got to take some notes.
Yeah. Yep.
You got to report back.
Okay. I'm happy to be a guinea pig if you need me.
All in all, like we know that having a strong aerobic capacity, so heart and lung abilities, it is going to help mitigate the impacts of that new setting. Okay,
that brings up another question then. So these people doing high, like Everest, big mountains, the better, I mean, it makes sense to me, but really, I thought altitude would attack you no matter how good a shape you're in. Is that correct?
Yes. So you can't run away from decreased pressure within the atmosphere.
Right. So yes, work out and be in good shape, but it still might not solve all your altitude problems.
So if someone is going to, summit a big mountain like Mount Everest, they are going to be there a month ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And they're going to slowly chip away at that altitude, sleeping at base camps to become more adjusted, especially when you get to those extreme altitudes. There's a point at which our body does not adapt, called the death zone. So you want to be as prepared as possible, but you don't want to be up there for too long.
Do you have any desire to hang out in the death zone for, study?
Educational reasons.
Educational purposes.
Well, it would depend on the funding.
Yeah. Yeah, you could say you pull it. Would you go?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's willing to pay for the research and my time to be there, I would definitely, put myself in that situation.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive to summit those big mountains.
Yeah. Very cool. You brought a bunch of notes. Did we hit on everything, or we?
I just wanted to organize my thoughts.
Okay.
I have a lot in my brain.
Yeah. What are we missing?
The importance of studying this stuff, I think, is a very, very something that we should touch on for sure.
Yeah. And because how does it help the everyday person, not just the athletes?
So if we study, these extreme environments on the body, we learn more about chronic diseases that classic Americans are at risk for, and diseases where hypoxia or lack of oxygen availability is like a key feature in that disease. So like cardiovascular disease and COPD, those are chronic states of oxygen or low levels of oxygen within the body. So this understanding is extremely important. And especially as we see more frequent and, longer heat waves due to shifting climate, understanding these environments is going to be essential, not only for athletes, but also for everyday people.
Yeah. Todd saw everyday people faint when they came out of grocery stores in Vegas.
My folks live in Vegas. Yeah, 130 is happening now, and that's insane. Like, that's insane to live in an environment like that. That's an uncomfortable environment, and that is the absolute truth. Is that you spend any time down there, they keep it say around 60 degrees inside, 120 outside. That you can imagine what happens when you hit that wall, and I saw it many times when I lived down there. It's just that stepping outside of the grocery store and you just go down.
That is so crazy. And it's like, it goes beyond being uncomfortable. It's like dangerous.
Oh, yeah. 100%. And it's getting more common. Like those kind of temperatures is getting more common. 120s is just kind of like you're going to hit that, each time now. They hit like 130 or something, or near 130.
That sounds horrible. Ugh. It gets above 90, I'm uncomfortable.
Yes, I know. Exactly. Keep me in the 70s.
Yeah.
Keep me in the 70s.
Yeah,
I'm
today was
gonna go-
great, by the way. I'm in flip-flops. Thank you. Yeah, it's about time. Fascinating stuff, Beverly. I hope to have you back. At least maybe we can get you in front of the avalanche people, because it's fascinating to me how it does change the way you make decisions at altitude.
Yeah, and knowledge is power, but unfortunately, knowledge doesn't change behaviors. So the more we talk about it and the more we work with the people that are on our team, the less likely we are to face extreme adversity.
Yeah, you just sort of rolled through that. That was pretty deep. So knowledge is power, but knowledge doesn't change behaviors.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, you know that you need to drink a lot of water every day, but it doesn't necessarily mean you will. So something to think about.
Sure. Well, we have I don't know if there's room for a panel, but I found a speaker for you.
No, I mean, this is fascinating, first off, and it is a beautiful segue into OAX and what this event is rooted in, and that's education. So that we would love to have you at OAX.
I accept your invitation.
Very cool. So Emily Boden, Outdoor Adventure X, Director of Events. This is a first-time event, and it will be in Ogden at Snowbasin, June 17th and 18th. So 2-day event, and this is the first of its type for your company. What's the parent company?
So this is the first of its type for Emerald X, which is the owner and producer of Outdoor Retailer.
Yeah.
So they're returning to Salt Lake City, as everyone knows, and they wanted to bring, as everyone knows, Outdoor Retailer is a B2B show, so the general public can't come. So they wanted to create a lifestyle event that caters to the outdoor enthusiast, that Outdoor Retailer could invite the consumer to come meet with all the companies and brands and products that are debuted at Outdoor Retailer. So OAX was kind of that. That's what was born out of it. Our company is a consumer-based event production company, so this is what we do.
Yeah.
It's our jam, so we're super excited to produce it, and super excited to produce it with obviously everyone in Ogden. They've been phenomenal. Cannot say enough good things about everyone here.
We were just saying Ogden is phenomenal. We said it just like that, though. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're having a good time with Ogden.
No, they're great. And then Snowbasin's beautiful. Like, who doesn't like that resort, and who doesn't like that resort in the summertime? And then Pine View Lake is just stunning. So I don't know. I could go on for hours about this event, so you can just either interrupt me or let me keep rambling.
Let's start with the partners in town who is helping Outdoor Adventure X put it on. We have Hailey with Weber State, so we know Weber State's involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So Visit Ogden has been a huge partner to help bring this together, and they've brought a lot of the key players in. Weber State and Hailey are joining us from an education portion.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do all of the, basically, Hailey, I'll let you talk a little more as what you guys are doing, but all of the like active education, all of like the demos and like learning how to climb 101 or hike 101 or kind of that basic, like, let's get people outdoors. That's what we want. So I'll let Hailey speak to that a little bit more, but we are working with the Trails Foundation of Northern Utah. We're working with the Weber Sustainability Fund. We will host a raffle Saturday night where all of the companies will bring products, we'll give them away. It'll be a great time, and all that money will be given back to those two organizations locally.
Opportunity drawing. Hailey, what types of clinics are you running up there?
Yeah, Emily mentioned a lot of them, so that's really great. You probably could have taken it all. But what we want to do as an organization is just provide resources for adventure, right? So that folks can feel like they can get out and do it on their own. Obviously, we have our rental center, and so we want to support the community in doing that. But specifically at this event, we're going to be running like an intro to mountain biking, intro to trail running, guided hikes. We also have some family-friendly events like an avalanche beacon search fun games.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that'll be pretty fun. I might join that one as well. And a Leave No Trace hike where we're going to like hike around and talk about Leave No Trace principles, and that'll be family-friendly as well. All the way up to like wilderness first aid hikes and doing some practical elements of that, doing some ankle tapings and some scenarios there on a hike, and then also even some trad climbing skills, anchors and placements and things like that. So we're hoping that we're hitting a little bit of every skill and ability. We're offering an adaptive climbing up there. We've been working with Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports to offer adaptive climbing opportunities every month for their folks and a lot of those adaptive athletes in town. And so this will be that opportunity in June to get out with the whole community, and I think it'll be a really great time.
What class are you not teaching that you're still trying to get on the books?
For OAX?
Yeah.
I think they're on the books.
They're on the books?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Just wondering if you were pushing for something that didn't get approved or anything.
Oh, you saying you got some pull?
Yeah, I might.
You got
No, I don't at all, but yeah.
spotlight right there.
Yeah.
The Brandon Long.
Yeah, what was that?
What was that?
I don't remember what that was. It was some sort of climbing
drinking
move.
or getting lost or sleeping.
No, but the best. Did you see the Florida Man headline we got in Ogden in the news yesterday, I think, or this morning?
Mountain lion?
No, that's scary though. By the
Yeah.
way, don't leave your dogs on the bench out at night. The
That'll
mountain
freak
lions
me
will
out.
get them. That will freak you out. No, it was. I had a pop up and it said, Ogden man gets stuck in mud after wandering through trees out of 21st Street Park. I'm like, oh God, here we go. Yeah.
Was that you, Brandon?
It wasn't. It wasn't me.
Is that what,
He did
was
call
Todd?
911, but it wasn't. No, it wasn't Todd's. Todd's smart. He would never end up out there.
It wasn't either one of us. I
Wasn't
like
either one
you
of us.
immediately assumed.
No, but
I thought this was a segue into
No,
to
yeah,
a new
but I do-
section of the show.
I do like how whenever. Do you feel like this, Hailey? This is a question for you. Because you work at the outdoor program, whenever you're out doing your adventurous stuff, you're like, please don't F this up. Like, don't do something stupid, because if they have to call and rescue me, that's the most embarrassing thing ever.
100%. I've been thinking about that with Nepal, because where we're trekking, literally the only option is to helicopter you off the trek and off the mountain. And so it's
You
like,
want to be
man,
that person. You really do.
It happens a lot.
Yeah,
so
I bet. Yeah.
It could be me.
Okay,
So
it could
no
be.
shame. We'll see.
They charge you for that? Do they charge you for that over there now? They probably do.
They probably do.
You probably get a bill.
Oh yeah.
So on top
Yeah,
of just the
it's-
embarrassment, you get a bill,
for
bill
sure.
for the helicopter ride.
And then it's
Like-
embarrassing to pay that bill. Like, God.
Gosh.
Because you got to put it on payments.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
one of the only requirements is travel insurance with helicopter evacuation. Yeah.
now, because of the connection with Outdoor Retailer, also you said something about being able to try some new gear, right? So let's talk about the gear.
Absolutely. So there's going to be over 125 companies debuting
That's
their
a
products.
lot.
Yeah, we're excited. It's going to be
Yeah.
huge. So they'll be selling, which is also fun, because like, who doesn't like to like go touch everything and then pick out what you like the most and take it home with you?
Yeah.
You don't have to like order it online and wait for it to show up at your door. Like, you get to carry it away.
Yeah. No, wait. So can we back up just a second? Because this is everybody who we're fans of Outdoor Retailer. We've been going for years. I've been going as a retailer, as a buyer. We went as media before. I mean, we've been
I
all
saw the badge.
things.
I saw you. I saw it.
All right. So how the general public is going to want to experience that same thing,
Yeah.
only on the mountain at Snowbasin.
Yeah.
So how similar can you make that, and what are the differences? What are they not going to get that OR actually offers, the B2B side of things?
Sure. So OAX is like what you call a lifestyle event. So we're gonna have camping. You can literally come camp on the mountain.
Oh.
You can come camp on the lake. Like, you can buy a camping pass, spend the whole weekend with us, immerse yourself in the whole experience, camp with your friends, camp with your families, make it an experience in addition to just coming to the show. So I would encourage, there's going to be on mountain camping and lakeside camping. Both views are stunning. And then, so this will be from comparing it to Outdoor Retailer, it is going to be, it's going to have all of the latest products available to see in one place. You usually got to go to a different store or a big box store or something like that to see the different ones. Also, a lot of this will be, they're going to have their 2023 products here, and they're going to launch their 24 products at OR, which is exciting.
Okay.
But it's going to be the same. The brands are going to bring their same experience. You know, those massive booths that are just over the top, and it looks so cool, and it gets you super excited about all these brands. That's what's going to be there.
So the logistics are they're coming to town and setting up at Basin first, and then they're going to bump down to Salt Lake.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got all that on the back end. That's all the, nitty gritty event stuff. But the Magic Ferries will carry their gear all the way down.
Really, our Magic Ferries.
Yeah. So down to Salt Lake, and then they'll be set up and ready to rock on Monday morning. But it'll be companies like Dometic's going to be there. Volkswagen's going to be there. Outside Magazine is going to come join us. So Step 22 gear, some of your overland rig companies are going to be there to, show off their new products and get hands-on, get in them, sit in them, touch them, feel them. So it's really, that part's going to be really cool. We'll have some like social media ambassadors or folks that have really cool rigs in like what we call our showcase area, and they'll show off maybe they built it themselves or they've done some really cool trip in it and kind of tell their story from a personal angle. But then to your product demo side, we will have trails at Snowbasin and then also on the water. Hailey's team, we haven't even talked about the on-water experience, but companies will be able to, for example, Smart Wool, maybe they're going to give 20 people a pair of socks and go do a hike with them. So it's what we would call a product demo. You're going to test out a product on a trail. We'll do that with mountain biking. We'll do it with hiking. We'll do it with trail running. We're focusing on 6 pillars of, the business, if you will. So it's camp, bike, hike, run, paddle, and I always forget the 6th one.
Charity.
Camp, I think, if I haven't said it already.
Camp,
but,
I think, was said.
Yeah. Let me see. But anyway, there's 6 pillars that we're focusing on that are going to be like all the activities are taking part in. Then as we were talking, go on down. So it's closed circuit. You're going to get on a shuttle. You're going to go to Snowbasin. You're going to do your thing. You're going to on a shuttle. You're going to go down to Anderson Cove. And there's going to be on-water products. So paddle boards, kayaks. Hailey's team will be teaching down there as well. So you can test out, if you're looking for a new paddleboard or a new kayak or a new stand-up paddleboard or things of that nature, you can get right on them and try them out and compare products.
Awesome.
Like you're literally comparing which one do you like more, which one fits your needs, and you can do it all right there on site.
I don't know if you know this, but there's resorts in Salt Lake too. Why did you choose Ogden?
So we chose Snowbasin because it's beautiful. We really wanted something that just blew people away when you come up there. And a lot of the locals, they see it, they've been there, but it's just going to be a different experience. They're going to have needles open so you can take the gondola up. And if that view doesn't take your breath away, then I don't know what will. Speaking of taking your breath away, but, it's something that's just really special. So we chose Snowbasin. And then obviously having, the other reason was the lake being so close. Yeah. Be able to do water and on mountain activities. There's nowhere else in the country you can do both at the same time in the same day.
It's like 15 minutes, 10 minutes away from each other.
It's a 15-minute shuttle ride. And we're going to have shuttles running all day long. So people just hop on, go do what they want at the lake, come back. And the event goes on all day. There'll be live music all day long. There'll be games. There'll be food. There'll be beer. So there's all that kind of stuff.
So do you pay a ticket to go in, or how does the pricing work?
Yeah. So you can buy the weekend pass with your camping. So you'll buy a camping pass. You'll get to come to the event all weekend long. Or you can come for the day. Maybe you live locally here in Ogden. You're like, I just want to come check this out. Tickets start at $35, and then on Sunday they're $25. So super affordable. There's a kids pass as well. So bring the entire family. There's kids programming. We'll have a kids climbing wall. Things like that for them to get involved in as well.
I feel like this is going to be 3 days before too long, maybe as soon as next year. But
it sounds great. It sounds like you've done it about 10 years in a row.
Well, what has Emerald learned over the years? It's not necessarily a new idea, right? People have tried to do public versions of OR, and they've tried to do it in Utah for years. So have you studied some of the events that have previously happened, and have you learned anything? And what, Emerald's good at what they do. So what have you learned from some of maybe the ones that have tried before?
Yeah, so Emerald just acquired our company, which was Lodestone Events, which is not important to the grand scheme, but we are consumer facing. That's all we do. That's the only business we produce is consumer facing events. So we produce a series called Overland Expo. I don't know if anyone's familiar, but it's an Overland Expo festival. So we'll have anywhere from 2,000 Overland, rigs show up at an event, and 20,000 people over the weekend there to just camp, hang out, learn. Like, there will be 200 plus hours of education over the 2 days at OAX. Like, that's a lot of opportunity to learn a lot of things in a small amount of time. Chef Corso's coming. He's going to teach you how to cook meals, like on the trail or while you're backpacking or different things like that. So just lots of engaging content and opportunities to like get your hands dirty and explore the outdoors with your family. Maybe you've been biking for a while and you want to try climbing. Hailey's team's there going to be to get you started.
Okay. Todd, what questions do you have?
This sounds great. I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah. So it's 2 days.
2 days, Friday or Saturday and Sunday. It is Father's Day weekend. So sometimes you're not good with dates, but you'll know Father's Day. Come to Snowbasin.
Yeah. Dad, I think Dad would like to go. Is this something you can get tickets for now?
Yes, you can. So Outdoor Adventure X tickets are available. Camping passes are available. Everything's there to get signed up. And I know you're not thinking about it right now because of how much snow is on the ground, but soon there will be green grass that appears out at Snowbasin, and it's going to be the reason to come out. So
we got a lot of melting to do because that'll be tight. June 17th, 18th.
We're not talking about it.
Yeah, it'll be.
No, they worked it out.
They worked it out. Yeah, ahead of time.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah, yeah. They got a letter from Mother Nature. It's like, don't worry about this.
A few hair dryers.
Maybe a blowtorch or something.
Yeah. Man, that's wild because normally you don't have to worry about it. But this is the only year that you do your first event up there where it's like, please melt snow.
And Snowbasin's been like so apologetic because they're like, we're sorry, we're just having a record year, and we're like, can we work on our event? We're ready. So I think they're going to be, everyone's ready to switch gears. I've been so lucky to be here with this amazing weather because if it was cold, I'd be super whiny and complaining, but this 65, 70 degree weather is just like, okay, let's do this. It's spring. Let's bring on the flowers and the sunshine.
I agree. I mean, I think the good thing about a long winter is everyone's looking forward to summer activities, spring activities, backpacking, exactly what you guys are going to produce. So it should be a phenomenal event. I'm looking forward to seeing how many of the vendors who are down at OR come up to Snowbasin first, and then their team, like you said, the little ferries, pack their stuff and take it to Salt Lake, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's what we've wanted forever.
Yep.
So it's finally happening. Because
there's so many, the general public wants to go to OR. They want to go see that stuff. They want to see those brands because you see it in the store. But when you see, some of your favorite brands rep themselves in that setting, it's just really cool. And it gets you super excited about, those products. So we're excited to offer it. And it's going to be a lot of overlap because they want to touch the consumer just as much as they want to touch the B2B side. So they're going to figure out how to make it work, and we'll have plenty of ferries to help them.
That'll be good. Do you have any pro tips yet? I mean, we haven't pulled off the event yet, so we don't know. But if there's any get your tickets early, maybe.
Definitely get your tickets early because the camping is limited. There's only so much space for camping, and in a level setting. But get your camping passes early. Do the whole experience. Come out for the weekend, make it something with your family, with your friends. Bring your buddies and camp for the weekend. Make it a whole experience. And if you live local and you just want to come up for the day, that's fine too. But it is definitely something. The camping will sell out, so you definitely want to gear up those now.
Do you have some of the bands booked yet?
We sure do.
Yeah.
We're working with Mountain Town Music to source all of it. And there's an entire schedule of band lineup on our website at outdooradventurex.com.
I read on the news, I think it was today, X Holdings or something like that is what Twitter's under now. So like the Tesla Model X and stuff. X is supposed to be some giant app that Homeboy owns all the things, right? So now so your brand is already worth more money because it's Outdoor Adventure X. Somebody I know may try and buy it from you.
I mean, and you'll hear it or you'll see all the branding. It's OAX is kind of how we're dubbing it. It's a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
So come out to OAX. We'll say that a lot versus Outdoor Adventure X. But yeah, maybe. I mean, it falls right in line with his brand.
I guess Musk.
So.
Yeah. Very cool. Emily, good luck.
Thank you. Thank you very
Anything
much
we
for
can
having
do,
us.
let us know. Hailey, thanks for helping out this new event, Weber State. It's going to be good. It'll be fun. Todd, any arts news this week?
Let's see, just work related. And so I do want one more comment. The Finch Gallery space that I run down in Salt Lake City, there is an open call right now for 2024, the exhibition season of that whole year. And so you can apply through April 20th. And so if there's any artists that are out there listening, just apply and see what happens. Just apply and see what happens, but you won't know if you don't try. But it's a phenomenal space, non-commercial gallery in Salt Lake City. There are not many left. And so we're kind of a rare in that instance right there. And so that's the biggest thing that I have going right now is that I think we touched on the most important bit of news last week or the week before. Gwyneth is fine.
Yeah.
So we can move on
Gwyneth.
kind of to the next thing. So.
Yeah. Okay. We did, if you're from Ogden and you're in the arts, you did get feedback on if you got money from Ogden City Arts Grants this week, which was cool. And Van Sessions was
thank you.
Funded for a little bit more money this year than last year, which we applied for. And so thank you to Ogden City and Ogden City Arts for helping fund the arts, because we're one of how many different people were funded. There's two different categories, but in total, there's close to 30 maybe groups or organizations that got funds.
What it tells me too is that more people should be applying. They should be applying. And so if anybody's listening, these applications are not, they're not, I mean, you can
They're not
make your way through
exclusive.
them.
You can go through.
Yeah, no, they apply to anybody. You want to pitch an idea? So there's project grants, there's general support grants. So obviously we went the route of the project support grant, and Ogden City Arts has been very generous. So thank you, Ogden City, for supporting our program for several years now.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, that was a nice thing to read about.
Yeah, it was awesome. So for adventure news, oddly enough, avalanche season is here. My weather app, for crying out loud, was like avalanche warning.
Yeah, 75
right now.
and avalanche warning.
Yeah, it's
through tomorrow.
It's
probably.
sketchy out there, and I did see a post. I think it was the Trails Foundation. Someone that reposted something that it was actually Utah Avalanche. It was like, the avalanche will come to you. You don't have to you don't have to go to the snow. The snow will come to you. So if you're on a dry trail under avalanche terrain, be cautious right now for the next few weeks, because it's warming up so fast.
That also applies if you're near any of these rushing waters. Like, be very careful.
Yes,
it's very cold, and it's just going to be raging, and I just don't want to know what's going to happen. I mean, just bad things happen so just be very, very careful.
Thank you to Banyan One. That's this trailer right here for powering today's episode of the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show. Listen and subscribe to Ogden Arts and Adventure on YouTube. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, thebanyancollective.com. That's our website, and the Podbean app for Android and iPhone. So if you want to be on the show, DM us, or if you have feedback for us on Instagram at Ogden Adventure. We'll take you out this week with a Van Sessions, believe it or not. And this is Pompe and Honey, Joseph. We'll see you next week on the Ogden Arts and Adventure Show.
This is Pompe and Honey.
A certain maid I know is so afraid her beau will never ask her, will she name the day? He calls on her each night, but when she dims the lights, it's 10 to 1 that you will hear her say. So Joseph, won't you make your mind up? It's time I knew just how I stand with you. My heart's no clock that I can stop and wind up each time we make up after being through. So listen, Joseph, time is fleeting, and even though my hair is turning gray, yeah, my mother has a won't you name the day? So Joseph, Joseph, won't you make your mind up? It's time I knew just how I stand with you. My heart's no clock that I can stop and wind up each time we make up after being through. So listen, Joseph, Joseph, time is fleeting, and here and there my hair is turning gray. Yeah, my mother has to fear wedding bells I'll never hear. So Joseph, Joseph, won't you name the day? Oh, Joseph, won't you name the day? Oh, Joseph, won't you name the day? Oh, Joseph, won't you name the day? Name the day, name the day. Oh, Joseph, won't you name the day? Oh, Joseph, won't you name the day?